So John's Gospel in chapter 1, the beginning of the fourth Gospel. It's the fourth Gospel. It was the one that was written after all of the other ones, so the one that is slightly different from the others as well. And the beginning of John's Gospel marks a beginning for all humanity, a new start. It's no coincidence that the Gospel commences with the same words as the whole Bible begins. It begins with the words, "in the beginning," just as the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, says, "in the beginning." So it's about a beginning. This new beginning. And one of the big things that John seems to be saying here is about the coming into the world of the divine. He uses the phrase in verse 14 of chapter 1 that the Word became flesh. Let me explain that. That's a little bit strange if you're not used to church. Maybe if you are used to church, it still might feel a little bit strange. So the Word is how John here is referring to Jesus. The Word is Jesus in this instance. The reason being that it refers to that Jesus is the embodiment of wisdom. So in the Old Testament, what has gone before, it talks about wisdom, God's wisdom, almost like wisdom has a personality, is a person. And so then what John is connecting with that has gone before and saying that there is God's wisdom in the form of Jesus. Wisdom embodied in him is the Word. So he's kind of been a bit poetical, a little bit mysterious with the language that he's using. And the Bible often refers to flesh, became flesh, just means he became a human being. So we have this concept that the Son of God, the Word, Jesus, the Word, became a human being, was born as a baby, became a man. And we have, therefore, this coming together of the Son of God and all humankind. And to my mind, this is a big thing because this had never happened before. This was a new beginning, maybe an opportunity for all humankind to start all over again. And this new beginning moves us towards the big ending revealed later in the Bible, our goal of God dwelling with us and us dwelling with God, of us coming together with God. The story that we see in the Bible, the story that we see in our relationships with each other and through the history of all humankind, of all people, is this way that we separate. We become more separated from each other. We fall apart, our relationships, and we become more separate from God. But the big story behind all of creation, of what God's desire is for all of us, is for us to become one again, and to become one again in him, with him. And so this thing of Jesus being born into the world, the Word being made flesh, the Son of God, establishing his home with us here on earth, is a sign that this is possible for us to be reunited with God. The Word became flesh and lived among us. And therefore it's made possible, it's made easy for us to come home to God, to draw closer to him, because the Son of God had set up home with us. It's a massive part of the big story for all humankind, is this concept of homecoming, that we're coming home. Never mind football coming home. I know that's really important, but this is far more important and far more long-lasting than any other homecoming might ever be. God's Son becoming a human being gives us the opportunity to settle down, to settle and abide with God, to dwell with him, to rest in him, to find our place with God, where we can feel secure and safe and nourished and complete, where we can be who we really are, made in God's image. The notion of us finding somewhere where we can truly be at home is so important to us. You know, when you get home, Home is somewhere where we might have that, we kind of make that noise when we can walk in through the door. I hope that home has that kind of sense for us, somewhere where we're desperate to be, where we've been a long way away. That place that we yearn for, that place where we can be ourselves. You can kick your shoes off. You don't even have to put your slippers on. You can switch the telly on and watch whatever you want. Well, maybe negotiate it with your family. You can sit there. You can even pick your nose if you want at home. Whatever it is that you want to do, just to show that it's your place and your space. Homecoming is so important for us. And so this is the new beginning, that God comes closer to us and dwells amongst us so we can come home. God joins with us. God draws close to us so that we can have a proper relationship with him. Through us getting to know Jesus, through our relationship with the Holy Spirit, God's presence in us. And all of this is triggered by the Son of God being born into the world. The Word becoming flesh and living amongst us. Jesus becoming one of us. Quite literally, the literal translation, this was written in Greek originally. The original translation would be the Word, as is Jesus, pitched his tent with us. Refers back to how it was in the Old Testament when people like Abraham, when they moved somewhere, and when the people of Israel were moving from place to place, they would pitch their tent in a certain place to declare that this is where they are. So I want to encourage us today in knowing that God has shown his love for us by coming so close to us, by Jesus moving in with us, becoming one of us. And all of this means that when we can't make sense of the world, it means that when we feel lost, when we feel confused, when we are upset, when we're lonely or angry, when we're depressed, when we're anxious, when we say that there's no hope, or when we look at the world around us and think, my word, I don't know that I belong here. We look at the world around us and we're just dismayed at how things are in the world around us. We have this comfort. We have this comfort. We have this hope, this peace, because the Word became flesh. Because Jesus, the Son of God, moved in to be with us here on earth. Jesus sets up home with us so we can be at home with him. As I say, feeling at home is exactly that. It's a feeling. It's something that's important for us. Something deep within us as humans, how we are set up by God. To have this desire to find somewhere safe and secure and comfortable where we can be ourselves. When I finished, I can't remember now, when I finished being a student, and I lived in Nottingham, and I needed somewhere to live, and in my final year as a student, I kind of like lived in a shared house, but the owner of the house was in that house, and I was there with one other student, and that was fine. They were a really nice person, and they weren't there that much. And so we could just sort of make it our own home. It was great. So I thought, okay, when I finished being a student, I thought, okay, I'll try this again. Also, because I didn't have any mates to live with at that point, and it just seemed like the only option available. But it worked once. I thought it might work again. So moved in with this guy, Phil. It was his house. Actually, it was his parents' house. And on a council estate in Nottingham, the Clifton estate, if anybody knows that, just to kind of give it a real context. And it started off fine, and he said, "This, just treat it like your own home, Gerard. That's absolutely fine." And I thought, great, that's good. And so I started to treat it like my own home. I didn't pick my nose, and I didn't kind of like kick my shoes off inappropriately or anything like that in any inappropriate way, but it gradually became more and more apparent that this guy who owned the house, or whose parents it was, he gradually kind of took over more and more. He gradually kind of made it so that me and the other guy that were living there, we didn't feel like that place was our home. We couldn't really establish ourselves in there. He would take control of the TV and let us know that he was going to take control of the TV, because this is before we all had our own screens that we could watch, okay, unless you had a really, really big, old-fashioned portable TV in your room, which I couldn't afford at that time. So just more and more, he started to squeeze us out. More and more, he complained about the things that we'd done, even though we hadn't done anything wrong. More and more, he made me and the other guy who were living there, he made us feel uncomfortable. I didn't end up feeling safe and secure and comfortable or at peace where I was. And that's how we can feel in so many different ways, in different areas of our lives. But when Jesus sets up home with us and comes to live with us, then because of that relationship that we can have with him, with God, we can find that peace to be safe, secure, comfortable, to feel at home. And this new start that we have with God through Jesus, through the Word becoming flesh, draws us closer and closer to God. And this comes to fruition in the book of Revelation, the final book of the Bible. In Revelation chapter 21, there's this picture that John, another John, a different John, a prophet, he says this, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'See, the home of God is among his people. He will dwell with them, and they will be his peoples. And God himself will be with them. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away.'" This is our destiny as humankind, to be reunited with God. This is the journey that we are on collectively, to find that place where we know that we belong, to find that place where we can be together with each other, where we can be together with God. This is what we are called to. This is what we are drawn towards. And I believe that the whole of the story behind the whole of creation is this one of homecoming that makes sense of my life and of all of our lives. That God is calling us to him. That God is drawing all people to him because he wants us to come home. We have this beautiful story that Jesus tells in Luke's gospel. It's recorded for us, the story of the prodigal son. Even if you don't do church, you might be familiar with this concept of this son who goes away, takes all of his inheritance, spends it all, riotous, bad living, comes back hoping that he will be forgiven by his father. Maybe even he'll just be allowed to be like one of the servants. But his father, who represents God in this story, is there looking out for him and celebrates when he returns, because he was lost and now he's found. He was dead and now he's alive and he has come back home. This is how God sees us. This is how God wants us to be as he draws us closer to him and pulls us into his love. We see this also, and we hear this in what Jesus says about coming to him if we are heavy laden, and he will give us rest. We see this in Jesus with his arms stretched out on the cross, inviting the whole of creation to him, for us to come into his arms. We see this in the very fact that Jesus was born, the Word made flesh, wisdom embodied in a human being. He moved in with us. We can be home together with him. It's generally lovely when someone we love and who loves us moves in to be with us. There's a quote in my mind, I think it's from Benjamin Franklin, that guests like fish begin to smell after 3 days. But notwithstanding that, it is generally good when we have somebody that we love who comes to live with us. We can look after each other, we can share, we can support, we can protect, we can be ourselves together. When I was very small, my granddad, one of my granddads, Percy Hastings Lay, came to live with us for a while. And I don't have many memories of him because then he moved away to go and live with, I don't know what we did to upset him, but he moved away to live with my auntie instead. But there are two things that I remember from him. One is that he told me when I asked him why he kept saying hello to all these people when we were outside, like going up to the shop or something. He told me it was good to say good morning and hello and good afternoon to people when you see them. I remember that. I tried to do that. And then the second thing he told me was much more important. He told me when I asked him why he was breaking his piece of bread up and putting it in his soup, he said that was the polite and proper and posh way to eat your soup, if you put your bread in the soup. I tried to carry on doing that too, but I'm not sure he was right about that one. But had he been living with us longer, and at a time when I had more memories, it would have been easier for me to understand who he was. It would have made my granddad more accessible to me. It would have been easier for me to know him, to really know him and love him. Jesus came to live with us, and now that makes it easier to understand God. It makes God more accessible. It makes it easier to know God and to love him. So to sum up, we have two directions coming together as I see it, beautifully, powerfully so. The first is this concept of homecoming, that from beginning to the end of the whole Bible, it's a story of homecoming. From Adam and Eve, expelled from their home in Eden, through the people of Israel searching for the promised land, then exiled in Babylon, and then the promise of the vision shown us in Revelation, and of course, the Son of God, Jesus, making his home with us so that we can make our home with him. Homecoming. And the second thing is this: Jesus at home with us. And this is our story because of this new beginning with Jesus. The Word became flesh and lived among us. Jesus moved into our lives and dwells with us now by his Spirit. And all of this homecoming and Jesus coming home to us, all of this is good news for us. It brings us, I believe, hope and comfort and peace. Maybe we've never felt at home anywhere. Maybe we've actually had times of homelessness. Maybe we're going through a difficult time right now. Maybe we're away from our homeland. We can't live where we want to live. Or like me, feeling less and less welcome or part of things in the UK, the way things are going. Maybe we don't feel at home in our own family, in our own culture, or we don't know where we fit, or maybe we're not at home in our own skin. With Jesus, because of Jesus, the Word made flesh, who came to live among us, we can find our home, our true home, our place where we can rest and feel safe and be our true self. Home, weary wanderers, home.